In the past, Donald Trump has said that he would get along great with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The feeling apparently is mutual because Putin is offering some very high praise for Donald Trump. During an annual news conference, Putin was answering some questions. They asked him, what do you think about Donald Trump running? He said this: he's a very bright and talented man, no doubt about that. He's the absolute leader of the presidential race, as we see it today. He says that he wants to move to another level of relations, to a deeper level of relations with Russia. How can we not welcome that? Of course, we welcome it. Warming relations with Russia is probably something that Donald Trump's talked about, and it's probably the only thing that I really see eye to eye with Trump on. But there are some similarities between the two. They're both, very, they had this aggressive posture to them. They don't mince words. So I guess, Putin sees him as somebody who he could potentially deal with and really see eye to eye with on a lot of levels.
Potentially control.
But yeah,
potentially
exactly.
Control. I think it's a bromance. I think he's pushing this idea forward, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a cent. I think that Putin is at a completely different league than Trump as politicians, as leaders. And I think Putin is putting the finger right at the problem of this presidential race. The fact that this person that is so little qualified to be the president is the leading candidate. And I think that's what Putin, with very, very carefully chosen words, is saying, look at who is leading the race. This is the next leader of America. I'm going to sit and rest here while you guys do all the work for me. He's very clever.
As Obama seems to have taken us in a different direction from, let's say, Bush. We've kind of taken the back seat in Syria, for example. Now, Trump himself has praised Russia's involvement in Syria. And, a lot of people here in the U.S. are talking about, well, we're not doing anything, but we see the Russians stepping up. Oh, my God, have they become the big guys on the playing field right now? Is it not the U.S.? Are we taking a back seat as far as leadership goes? Are we not the world police? Oh, my God. Yeah. And, I think Donald Trump is thinking, Putin is thinking, if a clown becomes president of the U.S., I can continue this momentum, and I can really make sure that Russia becomes the world leader in almost everything. He feels like he can manipulate somebody like Donald Trump. You mentioned that he's not on the same level as Putin as a politician, but in reality, Donald Trump is not a politician at all. He's not professional. The way he speaks, for example, he says, I can say whatever I want. I can talk like a complete buffoon, but I'll just, pin it on the fact that we're tired of this political correctness, and I can say whatever I want. But the proof, the fact of the matter is, that doesn't mean you can just take the professionalism out of this, right?
Exactly, and I think you mentioned something really important. The fact that Putin is a guy that knows what he's talking about. He is involved in the everyday decision-making process of Russia. Donald Trump is all appearance. His whole empire is based off hiring other people to do the job that he can't do. He's the leader. He's just the face of this whole enterprise. Unlike Putin, that he's the guy who is calling the shots. And I think that's a critical difference when those who listen to these words and might think that Putin is saying, this guy is at my level. No, he's saying the complete opposite thing. And is not the only one. Even Republicans are saying the same thing. We have Jeb Bush coming forward in the debate and saying this is the candidate of chaos. He's a chaos president, and we should be afraid. And they are afraid for one reason, because they have some sense of sanity. But on the other hand, they know that Donald Trump is a threat to the Republican establishment, to the way the Republican Party has been for many, many decades. The fact that these type of outsiders are leading the race is shifting the conception and the foundation of the party.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Even our conservative Speaker of the House said this is not a conservative. What are you saying about Muslims? That is not conservatism. So yeah, that's a very good point. So look, I'm saying so much without stopping, without taking a breath, but really what I want to get at, I really feel that, Putin sees this as an opportunity. You mentioned Trump being a chaos candidate. That's what Jeb Bush said. And, chaos is good for Putin. Chaos in America is what Putin wants. He wants to establish himself as the world leader, as the leaders of the world, which we are currently. And, there's that whole petition, right, in the UK. People, I think it was like hundreds of thousands of people signed this petition saying that Donald Trump cannot set foot in the UK. Can you imagine a US president? Imagine that petition going forth, going through Parliament, that becoming an actual reality, and then we have a president who can't step foot and who is disliked by so many leaders around the world. That's what Putin wants, is it not?
I think he wants an open field to do whatever he wants to do. Like you say, I think it's very important, going back and finishing up with the idea that you had that President Obama is trying to create this idea of the world where it's more of a level field, and there's diversity in the power and the decision-making process, unlike what Trump is trying to push and Putin is welcoming. This idea that if there's only one single power around the world that bosses the others, then it's either the US, it's either China, or it's either Russia. And in the meantime, there's tension in between the three countries because they are trying to up each other. So it's something that we just have to keep in mind.
Yeah, and you know, Chechnya, for example, majority Muslim little enclave inside of Russia. I wonder what they think about this. You know, him openly praising a man who's openly come out and said we need to ban Muslims temporarily from this country. I wonder how that would, you know, play into the ties that he has with the leaders inside of Chechnya. So here we go, guys. Putin apparently is all for Trump.